the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here with you on a Tuesday, and I invite you, as always, to join in the conversation. This morning, we're going to be talking about the great city of Nashville, some of the things happening within the council, and some of the things that they're looking at dealing with, the issues that have been in the news lately. A lot of stuff, I'm sure, that's on your mind. And whether you live in the city or not, hey, look, I live outside Davidson County, but obviously I work here. I come to the city quite a bit, so I have a lot of interest in it. So the phone lines are open to anyone, no matter where you live. Keep in mind, we're going to be coming to you this morning here on the Plus. We'll get the phone number up in just a moment. We are also, and I'm going to it right now on my phone, we also are streaming live this morning on Facebook at News Channel 5 Plus, the News Channel 5 Plus Facebook page. So if you want to go to that, or if you have a means of messaging me there, I will be absolutely glad to share any of your comments with our guest this morning, and we'll talk about it. Because our guest is Metro's Vice Mayor. That's the number 2 in charge, Jim Shulman.
Hey, Nick.
Good morning. It's nice to have you on, sir. It's a pleasure to see you today.
Always a pleasure to be here.
How many council meetings have there been with, shall we say, this new council that's not so new anymore, but how many?
So we've had two. Two. And we actually have kind of a 3-week break. You know, we meet the first and third Tuesdays of the month. Okay. October actually happens to have 5 Tuesdays. So we had a meeting the first, that was our first one, and then we had one last week. Okay. And now we have a 2-week break.
2-week break, yeah. And, but already getting down to business. And
so I will tell you that I'm very impressed with this council. A lot of the returning folks were very strong anyway. The new folks, ready to get at it. They're really.
But isn't that true? Every time there's new ones, they come in and they're excited, and then they get beaten down and realize it's not what they thought it was.
Well, maybe not. We'll see. You know, you always start fresh and you start, with a lot of hope. But this group seems to be very, very strong. Okay. I'm just telling you, there's something.
Is it because it's one of the most diverse groups ever, right?
Right. So it's split 20-20, men and women. First Muslim ever elected is on the council. The first female Hispanic member, Sandra Sepulveda. So and 5 members of the LGBTQ community are on there as well. So it's extremely diverse.
But you have representation on there. That's good to see. Is this as many women as there's ever been on the council?
I don't know if you know that. I don't think it's ever been this high.
I think it's great that it's then as much as we can reflective of our community, which is what you want.
Of course. And what you want are people with fresh new ideas who, because they come in and people say, no, we've already solved this. It's like, no, there's lots of issues to be solved. Lots of issues that are going to continue on. I mean, the city has grown so much and we have so many things going on. I was watching you this morning, watching News Channel 5, and it seems like we had a lot of incidents last night. And
well,
it's like
tell me a night that we don't. Are you talking about law enforcement incidents?
Law enforcement incidents.
I think we've lately had a rash of stabbings.
Yeah.
What's with stabbings? There have been stabbings, and I don't know, the crime issue in overnight. It's almost news, Jim, when we don't have an incident.
Well, it just, I remember years ago when you didn't see all this, and now you see it. We're a big city. We got big city problems, and we got to try to deal with it.
Yeah, it's just to be clear, it's not a reflection of Nashville as, what's wrong with. No. You go to any city in the country this size or larger, and some smaller, and you're having the same type of thing. But yeah, I can remember doing these hits in the mornings where it was a big deal, and we're rushing the live truck out if, gosh, there was a shooting or a lot. Now sometimes there's so many. Some of them are just readers, and it's a shame because they're all important and tragic. But boy. And that addresses what you guys are going to have to look at. The whole morale issue and law enforcement and whether or not we can keep officers and continue to recruit good officers. You keep hearing about some of that, and I don't know. What's the sense you get from Chief Anderson? And have you gotten a sense yet, too, about how Chief Anderson is going to get along with Mayor Cooper?
Hopefully everybody gets along. I mean, it's still way early. I mean, we've only been at this for about a month with Mayor Cooper in office. So many things to take on. I think they're still trying to get organized down in their office. Right. The benefit the council had was that we just keep going. We really never stop. And so we're on our way. But Mayor Cooper has a good team he's assembling, and they're taking a look. They've already started on a number of different issues. We'll see how well everybody gets along. There's always that grace period where everybody's in that honeymoon phase where everybody likes each other. I think the key is, there are going to be times where we have battles back and forth. But we got to remember that this is all about the city of Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, that may sound silly or like a political answer, but we've been at this a long time. I'm getting to the point where it's like, enough talk. We have to solve issues. We have to address them. That's always been the case, but sometimes we just kick the thing down the road, and it's like, we can't do that anymore. We have to solve these things.
Well, and how things come up sometimes, and stories will break. I think the scene's done it a couple times. The whole cherry tree thing with the NFL draft was dealt with, and then most recently, the scene's the one who broke it originally, we all got on it, the issue of the heating stations in the winter. And I know that took off, and the idea that they weren't going to have the money, right, to open some of these heating stations when it gets to, I forget how cold, but so cold that the homeless, if they have no place to go, and they do have shelters that they can get to, but there's special heating shelters set up for some of them to go to in emergency situations, and they weren't going to have them this year was the word, right?
Well, so there was some confusion about it. It was never about the money.
Okay,
so last year they opened up, they didn't have any additional funding. It's just a responsibility, I think, of government that if we don't have the capacity outside of Metro, outside of the government, then we're going to have to open those shelters. If we have enough capacity on the outside, which is through not-for-profits like Room in the Inn and the Mission and all these other groups that step up, then Metro doesn't necessarily have to open up a shelter if we have the capacity outside.
If everyone's getting what they need.
Right. If we don't have the capacity, if it's clear we don't have the capacity, then what we do is we go back to social services at Metro and say, you got to open up. And it used to be 25 degrees. We had a bill. I had a bill that was going to raise it to 32 degrees. 32 is freezing. 25 is also freezing. We should open up at 32 degrees. We just have to make sure that everybody has, if they want to come inside, if people are outside on the streets, and it's freezing outside, and we should be wary about this even if it's 35 degrees. But if people need to come inside so they don't freeze to death, we need to open up.
So just, if you said there was some misunderstanding then, I mean, and where do we stand on it, and what was the issue at hand here? Had anything really changed from last year? I mean, was it still in place that if there was the need, it was going to open? Because my understanding was there were some issues here maybe where it wasn't set up like it was in the past, and there was concern. If you needed it, it wouldn't open.
Well, so in the past, we've never had the capacity. I mean, we haven't had the capacity on the outside. And so the move has been to force Metro government to open up, which requires location, requires, cots, food, security.
It takes effort and money,
it takes
resources,
all these different departments to do it. We have never had a certain source of money just allocated to that. So we just basically force Metro to operate within its budget and to do this because that's the right thing to do. This time around, what we had heard was that there's a committee that kind of works through this through the summer, and they came back and said, looks like we have enough capacity on the outside. Okay, that's great. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to open up a shelter if we don't have the capacity, but it looked like we had everything worked out on the outside, so we didn't necessarily need to be planning to open up a Metro government-run shelter. That's still trying to figure out what happened because we thought we had the capacity. Apparently we didn't. Once we didn't have the capacity, we turn back to Metro and say, if it gets cold, you're opening up.
So now all of a sudden we thought then maybe that there isn't the capacity there maybe? I know are there more homeless than last year, or what's the issue? And as you said, there are a lot of places for the homeless to go.
Yeah, but I mean, again, some of this is just basic coordination of services. Okay, so what you're trying to do is make sure. So last year when we opened up some of those shelters, we had as many as 200 people in that. It was in Shelby, I think it was in the Shelby Park Community Center. 200 people.
I didn't realize. I was going to ask how many people utilized it.
So you had to transport people, you had to transport people back. You had all these logistical issues. So we can pull it off, and we will if that's what we need to do. Right now, where is it? The mayor's office obviously got involved. They said we would make sure we had the capacity, make sure we had the resources. The last I understand, and I talked to social services, I think on Friday, was that they're working through this additional because we think we need the additional capacity. They're working through the plans. They're going to pull it all together again, and then we're all going to meet about it, and we're going to figure this thing out.
I have no doubt when it gets to that point, it's good that the planning's in place. This is going to be done. One, because it's obviously the right thing to do, but second of all, can you imagine a city of this size without resources, and we're spending money on soccer stadiums and everything else, if somehow a homeless individual died and froze to death? That would be a really bad look for the city. And that, look, when I saw this story break, I thought, well, it's good it's brought up, but I thought there's no way this is going to happen. It'll be fixed, and I know it will be. So,
it's about priorities.
Yes, and
our people.
Number one priority.
Our priorities.
Okay.
Yes.
Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we have some phone calls for you. Again, this is the vice mayor. Okay, he's in a position to answer any types of questions you may have about the city. He's got the inside scoop most of the time. Whether he shares it or not, we can try. So we'll take a break. Be back with your calls, as well as some other issues to talk about, special committees and the like getting set up right now into this Metro Council. Right after this, stay with us.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. If you have or are eligible for Medicaid, please listen closely. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare Health Plans with zero or low plan premium. Call 1-877-424-1651 now. That's 1-877-424-1651. Representatives will provide detailed information and help see if you qualify. WellCare provides access to a large network of local and regional doctors and hospitals. Plus, some plans give you more dental, more vision, and more hearing, plus more prescription drug coverage. WellCare is contracted with Medicare to provide plans that may be right for you. Call 1-877-424-1651 now. That's 1-877-424-1651.
Of those who survive now get only a fraction.
National Girl Scout line now how. If I get low, then I call Mojo. Got the latest project for the promo.
Hey, man.
How you doing, Mr. Rudy?
Something.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. How you been?
Okay.
You gotta kiss the face.
Yeah.
What kind of things that, had you learned, your work as postal service that kept you going?
You know what that takes to be a postman? You gotta love the people.
Right.
To me, Meals on Wheels is the most wonderful thing. You guys coming in and I see you and you talk to me for a few words and all that. I think that's great. That's the food of life.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
Do I look unhappy?
Do I look like I'm struggling?
Do I look like someone you feel sorry for?
Does looking at me make you feel uncomfortable?
Do I make you want to look away? What about now?
We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us with Metro's Vice Mayor, Metro Nashville Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. We're on the Plus if you want to call and join in the conversation. Also streaming live on Facebook at News Channel 5 Plus, as well as my Facebook page, Nick Barris NC5. If you want to post some comments or questions or just say good morning, go ahead and comment, and we'll get to that. Jim, we have a couple calls for you already.
Sure.
You're a popular guy. We'll start off with Ann, who's always wired into what's happening in the city. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Hi.
Two things. First, since April, the Community Oversight Board has attempted to get Chief Anderson to attend the Community Oversight Board meeting. It is slated again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Not only is Mayor Cooper, but Chief Anderson is slated to attend, and speak. Anderson has met in closed-door meetings with Mr. Weed. What is the mayor's office doing to assist in getting Chief Anderson to support the city with the Community Oversight Board? Secondly, last night on Open Line, the budget was being talked about, and unfortunately I tuned in too late to ask my question. The city has years of unpaid fines. I can only base this on the alcoholics in my family who have been arrested for DUI. And going back as far as 20 years, I have family members who in this city have never paid their fines for crimes they were convicted of and are not incarcerated, but they have never paid their fine. Why does Davidson County not collect the unpaid fines that convicted but not incarcerated people owe the city?
Okay, got a couple there.
Good questions, Ann. So, as the vice mayor, we're separate and distinct from the mayor's office. So on the first question regarding the Community Oversight Board, I know that there are issues going on, trying to get the information, trying to get the parties on the same page. I think in large part, I think this problem has been going on for a while. I think that's why the community, the city as a whole voted for the Community Oversight Board. We've got to get everybody back on the same page. This is not like they're not trying to do anything harsh or difficult in terms of what their role is, but we want to make sure that everybody's rights are protected. And so, from the council standpoint, we're watching this closely. We really do want everybody to get on the same page. We want the chief to come in, we want the Community Oversight Board to get the information they need. There's a function they have, there's a function the police have, but we're all in this thing together. We have got to get people talking to each other. I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not sure what the mayor's role is in all this, but I know this is an ongoing issue with the Community Oversight Board. They've got a role to play, and if they've got the responsibility or if they've got the rights to look at certain information, we need to make sure that happens.
But do you think the chief should go? And the chief
Sure.
should be part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you wonder if there's problems there between it. It just maybe shows again how maybe the chief is not thrilled with the Community Oversight Board. I don't know that that's necessarily true now, but he may be busy. Now I assume it sounds like he may show up tomorrow. I don't know. Do you think that's important that that he goes just to communicate one way or the other?
Look, I take the bigger picture of what's going on in this country because I talk about it with people, and people are going like, nobody will talk to each other. You're either over here or over here. There's no talking in the middle, and people won't come together to talk. That's a real serious issue. So the same thing applies here. You have, even if you don't necessarily like what's going on, you've got to play your role and your responsibility, and you've got to keep talking because we've got to work through this. If we've got issues in the community with the police are very, very important. We've got to rebuild that trust, that confidence so that people do get along. And if this is one way to do it, then I really would encourage the chief to go and the Community Oversight Board to basically say what they need and for everybody to cooperate with each other. On the second part, on the budget, I know in the past they've gone after people to try to get
I wonder how much money is really not collected out there from parking tickets that maybe have never been paid. Now, moving violations, certain ones, if you're nailed on a speeding ticket and you don't pay it, they're going to eventually grab you. You're going to get nailed again. It's going to be bad for you because your license will get pulled. But I can see some of the more minor violations, people never really paying for that ticket that was on the parking meter, I wonder. And the resources to pursue that.
Well, I know that, John Cooper was elected as mayor in many ways because of financial need to get the city's budget back in order. My guess is for the next, 9 months, you're going to see him drill down on things like this. You're going to try to figure out what's going on, where we've been lacking, what have we not been collecting. So I think Ann makes a good point. next time I see the mayor, I'll bring this up. Okay. We'll do it.
See what he says. And again, I'd be curious just how much money there is. And it always comes into play. Yeah, I mean, you want law-abiding citizens, but then if they're not paying, how much it costs to pursue them for something that was a minor violation, and they should be pursued. But I mean, is that going to cost more of the resources there than what you're going to collect for an unpaid parking ticket?
That's right.
All right, let's go next to Robert. Robert, good morning. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Hi, what's on your mind, Robert?
What's on my mind is I live at a high-rise. I'm handicapped with electric wheelchair, and I've been talking to MTA about having buses out here. They did have 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. They cut that out. And we need bus service, all high-rises or buildings like this. And we got one bus system next door to us. It's a 7-6 connector. And I asked them to join it together just to give us a few rides in the morning, 2 in the evening. And they told us, no, we don't count. I don't think that's fair. What can I do to help this?
So, okay, so Robert's point is, so WeGo had some of the money cut this last year. It wasn't initially cut, it was a lack of money that was coming from the state. That went away, and so the WeGo budget went down, or MTA, went down about $8 million. So they started reducing routes. Robert, the best thing to do is to let your council person know. And you're doing it here, so probably need a location so we can know what it is. What we do is we go back and get the folks at MTA, WeGo, to look at what route they've cut and explain the situation, and then we try to deal with it. Now, Robert lives in a high-rise.
He has a wheelchair,
and a wheelchair, I believe, so it may be that we have to get Access Right involved. But again, this is why we have a council that's trying to work through these issues, is that we lost routes this time.
Okay, and as far as you understand it, I think it's pretty much common sense how they go about it when budgets are cut and routes have to be reduced. I'm guessing they look at the least utilized routes, and it's going to affect some people. Maybe in this case, the individual, that's a pain, but they're going to cut the ones that have fewer travelers. Is that basically your understanding of how it works?
That's my understanding of how it works. Now, the big issue here is that, we're 2 years, or it's been probably less than 2 years since we voted on this mass transit resolution. What I'm saying is that we've gone from, a question, whether right or wrong, of $9 billion to spend on creating a mass transit solution, to now we're cutting routes. We have to get our priorities straightened back up.
Because I do recall in that whole debate, a lot of people who were against it, and there were good reasons maybe to be against it, the costs involved and all this. Look, in the meantime, at least, we can expand what we have right now.
Right.
And they're saying, look, I know it's not perfect now, this is not a good plan, but until we come up with a good one, we're going to do other things to expand it that we already have. And that ain't happening, and you know what? I figured that would be the case. It's not going to happen. It's not, unless the money's really dedicated to it. And so they're actually cutting routes instead.
So the money went down, they cut the routes. What I would tell Robert to do is get in touch with your council person, let them know. And if you don't know who the council person is, call the Metro Council office. Number is 615-862-6780. They can track down your council person for you. Make that call, make them aware, get other people in your area to make that call as well, so we'll know what the problem is. We'll see if we can find a solution.
You never know, too. If he lives in a high-rise, there may be possibly hundreds of others that are also feeling the same way as he is. If that's the case, that can get someone's attention.
Right, and if MTA or WeGo can't deal with it, there's a Senior Ride Nashville, there are other programs out there depending on how old Robert is and what his status is and so forth. We can typically try to find a solution to the problem.
Okay, great. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, we've got more callers on the line. Line's open, too, 737-7587 for Jim Shulman. We're also on Facebook at News Channel 5+, and my Facebook page, Nick Barris NC5. A lot of you watching there right now. Steve Bickman saying, you know what, we need to flush out the criminal businesses, take care of the horrendous road issues. Steve, if you want to be more specific, I'll bounce that off, Jim, in terms of either those businesses you have in mind or what roads are bothering you. Still a few nice potholes out there, but hey, that's part of life.
Always want to know.
We'll take a break and be back with more of your comments right after this.